Three words, folks: disgraceful, poor, and absolutely shambolic. Springboks versus Australia in the first test of the Rugby Championship, and it ends in a 22-38 win to the Aussies. 22-38 to Australia versus the Springboks. You did hear that right. We're not living in an alternate universe. That did just happen. As you can see, I'm still visibly very frustrated, and I'll try my best to remain professional and be above board with this analysis. But nonetheless, going into halftime, 22-5. At halftime, mind you, 22-5. You would think that the Springboks would be able to hold on to a 22-5 lead at halftime at Ellis Park at altitude. But no. Australia came out after halftime. They wanted it more. They were more intentional, more intense. And as the Springboks, we could not cope. That is the bottom line. We were outplayed by Australia in that second half. We tried to force way too many things. We tried to do things that were not there. Certain times we thought something was on. It simply was not on. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a professional rugby analyst. But I don't understand how in the Springbok camp, with the amazing off-ball coaches they have, defensive coaches they have, they were not able to recognize over the 3 warm-up test matches that the breakdown, our attacking breakdown more specifically, is our Achilles heel right now. How is it in I can't even speak right now. How is it in a group of professionals? Our one issue that we've been struggling with in those 3 warm-up test matches, I'm not counting the Barbarians game. In those 3 warm-up test matches, Italy and then Georgia, we could not see that the breakdown is a clear problem. It's a problem. It is our Achilles heel. Now, we'll get to the stats in a moment, but we gave Australia the game on a silver platter. We gave it to them. We showed no fight, no dog, no physical intent at all. We drifted from our DNA of absolute physicality. Now, I don't have a problem with us playing expansive rugby, but if it's not working, let's not force it. Let us not force the expansive rugby if it's not there. And in that second half, we forced way too many things. I've said this time and time again. I believe Manny Lebok is a fantastic fly half, but today he did not manage that backline at all. Gave away a very cheap try via an interception. Now, interceptions happen. Great read from Suali'i, but nonetheless, gave away the try. Curtly Arnser, probably responsible for 2 of those tries. Not doing your job, tackling your man, tracking your man, fighting hard enough to get back on defense for your man. Now, Curtly Arnser did very well in certain in other areas of the game. But boys, ladies and gentlemen, it's not, you cannot win a test match if you give away so many penalties at the breakdown. I said this in my preview that this game was going to be won or lost at the breakdown. Players like Will Skelton and Nick Frost were absolutely anonymous for large parts of the game. Skelton was absolutely anonymous the entire game. I thought we'd see a way more intense battle between Skelton and Ibn Etzebeth. I am appalled by the performance that we saw in that last 40 minutes of rugby. That is arguably one of the worst 40 minutes of rugby under Rassie Erasmus I've ever seen. That gave me flashbacks of Heineke Meyer and Alistair Coetzee rugby. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. But that is what I saw. But nonetheless, folks, like I said, I'll try to be as professional as possible, and let us get into the cold, hard facts and stats of this game. Now that my rant is done. Oh, jeepers, mate. Okay. There we go. You can see the score, folks, 22-38. Let's look at the stats. Oh, jeepers. This is worrying. Now let's see there. 3 tries for South Africa, 6 tries for the Aussies. Look at South Africa. 139 carries. We had so much more ball in hand than Australia, but we just could not convert. Look at that there, right? 13 line breaks to their 10. So there's certain times that Tony Ball is working, but when it doesn't work, what do we do? Do we keep forcing it, or do we go back to a game plan that we know that works? I'm not saying that now we need to throw away everything Tony Brown has done. What I am saying is that if it's not working, let's not force it. Okay. Turnovers lost 17-12. You can't give away 17 turnovers, 5 more than your opponent, and expect to win the test match. It doesn't work like that. That is not how rugby is won. Impossible. It just simply does not work like that, folks. It doesn't. Looking at the territory, and this is absolutely disgusting to me, that we had 61% of the territory in the game. 42%. Folks, 8% less. Sorry. Sorry. Let me gather myself here. 42% of the territory of the game. 42% of the game was played in the 22 of Australia. 42%. Just less than half the game was played in their 22. And we were still not able to convert. Having 61% possession. That is absolutely and utterly appalling. Again, you can see there's something wrong. Why are we trying to force things that are not there? Too many times you saw pops from the base of the breakdown up, going to the player, and then the player knocking it down because they're running in to clean the ball. Or we have times where we just make one too many passes instead of taking the contact, resetting, allowing the cleanup to happen, and allowing us to have more ball in hand. It's not just pass until just pass. We still need to meet them at the gain line, at the contact point. The only player in the back line for me who I say that despite us losing today had a really, really good game and was my man of the match if we had won this game would have been Andre Esterhuizen. He didn't try force things. If he saw it wasn't on, he ran, he crash-balled it, allowed the cleaners to do their job, and allowed for Grant Williams to have good ball. Yet somehow that does not translate consistently throughout our backline. Now, I'm not saying that the backline had a bad game, but we forced things way too many times. Now, as Springboks, scrumming is a huge part of our DNA. And we were only able to manage to generate 4 scrums. That's bad. That is absolutely poor. We need to be generating a lot more scrums. We had Australia here. We had them here at scrum time for most of the scrums, whether it was our scrum or their scrum. We had them here. But for whatever reason, we still could not generate more scrums. That is something that needs to be looked at. And how can we generate more scrums? People might say rare tear tear is not in the spirit of the game, makes the game slower. But if we know it works, let's do it. We need to somehow find the synergy where we can play Tony Brown rugby and then not drift from the DNA of the Springboks, and that is physical rugby from the front foot by the forwards. We need to figure out a way to find the synergy. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I love Tony Brown and what he's done, but we need to find the synergy between our DNA and this new innovation we're trying to bring in. Looking at the lineouts, we were only able to win 69% of our lineouts. That is disgusting. Absolutely appalling. Even in schoolboy rugby, the percentage of lineouts won is higher than that. You can't expect to win a test game, international test rugby, at this level with only being able to win 69% of your lineouts. That is appalling. We should not ever be dipping below 85%. Ever. If we dip, it should be to 85, and that's it. But more times, we hover between 87 and around 89% completion, or one rather. So to drop down 20% to 69 is disgusting and appalling. That needs to be rectified. Now, like I've mentioned, we had so much ball in hand, guys. We just forced things. Now going down again to where I'm saying we're forcing things, penalties. Look at that. 10. We conceded 10. They conceded 4. How do you expect to win? How do you expect to win with poor discipline? And where did most of these come from? 5 of them came from the breakdown. 5. 5 of them came from the breakdown. Teams are seeing that South Africa are struggling at the breakdown, and they are putting pressure on our breakdown. But I will say, in the first half, we had a lot of intensity at the breakdown. We were there fast, cleaning out. But then when Marco van Staden went off for an HIA, Sia got injured. We just lost all intensity at the breakdown. Are you telling me that in a team of many 2-time World Cup winners, only Sia Khaleesi and Marco van Staden can do well at the breakdown? You're lying. Impossible. It's impossible. That needs to be fixed. That has to be fixed. Moving on to our defensive stuff. 26 tackles missed. 26 tackles missed. Again, you can't win a game with only 26 tackles missed. Now, folks, I am not one to go into panic stations. I'm really not. But this, for me, was a big wake-up call for the coaching staff and the players. Something needs to be adjusted. Whether it's how we play, our intensity, team selection, tactics, something needs to change drastically and quickly. We have a week. Until the next test. Something needs to change. Now, I'm gonna come out with a player with a player ratings video now as well, giving you my thoughts on the players individually. And then later on in the week, I'll give a more detailed analysis of the game, trying to get some clips to show you some of the things where I think went wrong and how we can improve on those things. But guys, I don't know what to say. I'm gonna be backing the boys next week. I'm still gonna be backing them. I'll never not back this team, but this is one of the darkest days. This is one of the darkest days I've experienced as a Springbok fan. It's one of the most embarrassing feelings that I've ever had. I left Monte Casino today, where I was watching the game, and I felt like somebody died. The vibe around the people was like somebody died. Because we saw our players on the field drop their heads, have slumped shoulders, We couldn't even fight hard enough to try prevent them having a bonus point. We couldn't muster enough of enough of ourselves to prevent them from having a bonus point. But hey, we go again next week against Australia at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town. Yeah, like I said, player ratings coming out soon. It'll come out soon after this video. And yeah, guys, this has been Rotang Does Sports. Let me know down in the comment section below how you feel about the game. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We're close to 200 subscribers. Let's get there. And I'll see you guys soon.